Some things in life cannot be planned. That was very much the case of my reading experience of Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Volume 1. What started as just another review quickly evolved into the perfect follow-up in my ongoing discussion of the DC Rebirth line. Deathstroke Volumes 1 and 2, my first reviews involving DC's latest relaunch, represented Rebirth's emphasis on returning its major characters to their roots. But what happens when another version of DC's classic characters find a new audience? How do you balance both longtime and new fans alike without alienating either one? That's right, it's time we address the elephant in the room with superhero comics, that being comic book continuity, easily one of the genre's greatest strengths and weaknesses. Depending on your perspective, continuity has the power to excite hardcore comic fans, while intimidating others from even trying the superhero genre. And for the sake of this review, the larger discussion of continuity in superhero comics will be saved for later on. But we will start with a key component in the continuity discussion as it pertains to this book. Black Canary, Huntress, and Batgirl especially each had their fair share of success with their own revitalizations in the New 52, DC's reboot attempt back in 2011. So unlike other titles like Deathstroke, Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman, and various others, the Birds of Prey roster wasn't in desperate need of a return to form. Only a new comic series from the right creative team who can make a story that's welcoming for fans of the New 52 versions of the trio, but also welcoming enough for lapsed readers who are giving DC another chance. Which may sound great on paper, but that's a much more treacherous tightrope to walk when it comes to the execution. Fortunately, the writing team of Julie and Shauna Benson were able to walk that line with grace. Even more impressive given that this is their first comic book project of their respective careers. Mind you, they're known for their work on the CW series The 100, but being successful in film or TV does not always translate to having success in comics. Yet the Bensons remarkably avoid nearly every pitfall the new comic writers stumble into. Volume 1 is a 7-issue story counting the Rebirth one-shot, but it neither feels decompressed nor rushed for time. Their issues fly at a brisk pace, with the right number of character and plot developments per issue. If the Bensons weren't longtime fans of the medium before this project, then they certainly did their homework. The comic's premise even reflects that approach, through its thoughtful blend of returning classical elements while maintaining and evolving the trio's characterizations from the New 52. Fresh from training around the globe, Barbara Gordon returns to Gotham, only to discover someone has taken her hacker identity of Oracle and is selling intel to the criminal underworld. Barbara turns to Black Canary for help in tracking this new Oracle down, while also having to contend with Huntress, a fiery-tempered vigilante with no love for the criminal element, along with the mysterious mob boss Venice, who also happens to be Oracle's top customer. Barbara thought she was through with her past, but that doesn't mean her past is done with her just yet. Arguably, the Bensons' greatest strength lies in the Birds of Prey's character dynamics. Under their pen, Batgirl and Black Canary feel like they've been friends for years, having numerous moments of playful banter in and out of costume. Black Canary also serves as a pseudo-older sister for Barbara, guiding her when she's troubled and fiercely protective of her in the field. And when Huntress is added to the mix, the book really hits its stride. She's the perfect straight woman for Batgirl and Black Canary's quips, and her lethal approach to crime fighting constantly puts her at odds with the group. Of the Birds of Prey, Huntress is easily my favorite. She's such a badass. She's able to hold her own against Black Canary and Batgirl in both a fight and argument. And on top of that, she has the best lines, fight scenes, and flashbacks throughout. Her first scene alone is bound to leave one hell of an impression on readers. Though I do have a couple of nitpicks involving the character, two of which I'll delve into now and another I'll save for later on with the continuity discussion. During Batgirl and Black Canary's excellent chase sequence with Huntress, she threatens to expose the two's secret identities if they continue to get in her way. Now it's understandable why Batgirl would be shocked that Huntress knows her identity, but why would Black Canary? She doesn't even wear a mask. And as much as I enjoy Huntress's dynamic with the group, she does become a bit too amicable too fast with them. Especially given the size of the story, that part could have used a little more space for her bond with the two to stick its landing better. When it comes to the antagonist Oracle, the reveal of the character's identity is a bit subversive. It's something I wasn't sure how to feel about at first, given how the reveal went down, but eventually the book won me over, and the concept appears to have the legs to develop more down the road. But for some people, I could see them viewing that reveal as anticlimactic, given the impact a dark version of Oracle has on Barbara. The art team consists of Claire Rowe and Raj Antonio, who trade off issues and even tag team a few together. Unlike Deathstroke Rebirth, this title is a monthly comic, and it's immediately apparent with the art. That's not even a knock on the Deathstroke art team, but the plain fact of the matter is it's much easier to maintain visual consistency and a 1 or 2 person pencil team on a monthly comic as opposed to being bi-weekly. Rowe and Antonio both have clear strengths, with Rowe having very expressive faces and more atmospheric backgrounds, while Antonio has a cleaner superhero style to his lines, which lends well to the book's action sequences. Both are distinct from the other, if you know where to spot the differences. Yet the two blend so well together when they work on the same issue that I didn't realize when the transition between the two even occurred till much later. So now's the time for the continuity discussion. Superhero comics have been associated with decade-spanning continuity long before I ever picked up a comic for myself. Some fans are incredibly devoted to their continuity involving a particular character or universe, expecting stories to be meticulously in line with the stories from the past, while others are more focused on a quality story over the particulars lining up. I tend to have a bit of both in me as both a fan and reviewer, and ultimately place my interest in a book's continuity on a case-by-case basis. Everyone has their preferred versions of classic heroes, and I'm no different. Concerning this book, I would prefer Barbara Gordon not to be Batgirl, since I find the character's time as Oracle to be much more interesting, and to leave the Batgirl title to either Cassandra Cain or Stephanie Brown. Another preference of mine in regards to Huntress is for creators to stick as close to the Huntress Year 1 origin as possible, since that's the version of the character I most connect with. Does it bother me that Batgirl and the Birds of Prey doesn't entirely line up with my ideal continuity? Not really. I'm more than able to look past creators who have a different take on these characters if they have a compelling story to tell, and the Bensons have that in spades. While I'm not much of a fan of the twist that's brought to Huntress's origin here, the twist did come from a character place, and it was an interesting direction to take the character. Same goes for Barbara Gordon. Now, for the larger DC continuity, this one can be a bit of a funny head-scratcher if you want to throw the implications from the DC Rebirth one-shot onto the series, with the idea being that Dr. Manhattan is the one responsible for the previously mentioned New 52 reboot. When viewed from that lens, it's pretty bizarre why Dr. Manhattan would want to make Barbara Gordon walk again, prevent Black Canary from ever knowing Green Arrow, or introduce Helena Bertinelli as a spy and change her ethnicity, or the craziest of all, what is or isn't canon in Batman's history as of now. If that's something you put a lot of stock into, some of those things could be infuriating. Personally, that's the exact kind of crazy that I love with my superhero books. There's no other medium where you can pull various characters with their rich histories and tie it all together into a living, breathing universe. There will always be times where the continuity of the universe doesn't add up when viewed under the microscope. That's part of the charm with a vast superhero universe. Continuity honestly has as much weight as you want to give it. That goes for creators and fans alike. And at the end of the day, the creator's job is to tell the best story they can. From there, fans can either choose to enjoy the story and interpret it as much as they like, or not. Even if the story doesn't have the ideal versions of our favorite characters, there can still be something there for us to appreciate if we're willing to approach the story with an open mind. When it comes to the paper quality of this trade, it's once again excellent. DC did a great job of printing these Rebirth trades on some good quality paper that's built for multiple reads. As previously mentioned, this trade collects the Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth one-shot and issues 1 through 6 for $16.99. And for 7 issues worth of content and the quality of the creative team involved, that is a great deal, though I would recommend buying this at a slight discount, somewhere around the $14.99 range. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Volume 1 was a strong debut comic for the Bensons with a fun dynamic between its leads and a story that kept building its intrigue with each issue, along with dynamic artwork from Claire Rowe and Raj Antonio. A few small issues with the twist on the new Oracle in Huntress's origin, and a slightly rushed reconciling of the group, however, add up just enough for me to bump this one down to a recommendation for a slight discount. And that wraps up this review. Thank you once again, as always, for watching these reviews. I do apologize about the delay with this latest one. A few things in my life just kind of picked up and took me a little bit to get this one out. A lot longer than I intended on. But I will be getting back to a regular schedule soon. But for the next review I'm going to be teasing, it's going to be something a little bit different than the standard comic reviews I do for this channel. It's actually going to be a brand new review segment. I'm calling it the Comic Odyssey. It's a bit more of a long-form series of reviews where I will be discussing completed comic runs, whether they're from Marvel, DC, Independent. It'll be just kind of my way of knocking out some of those acclaimed runs in comic books that might not be conducive to a singular non-spoiler review. So feel free to tune back in about 2 to 3 weeks where I will be taking a journey into mystery, if you will, with Walt Simonson's Thor run, at least the first part of it.